Since the operating system is contained on a hard drive, troubleshooting the operating system involves determining whether we have a hard drive problem or a software problem with the operating system itself. The first thing that we can do if we suspect that we have an operating system problem is to try a hard boot versus a soft boot. A soft boot is a restart, using the operating system to restart. Oftentimes that won't fix our problem, but a hard boot sometimes will clear up a problem if that problem was created by the way that an application is registering in the registry, or if some other component of the startup process has not functioned properly. A hard boot is a full shutdown so that the hard drive completely stops and then restart the system. Windows has a startup menu, which we'll take a look at it in just a second, which can allow us to step through the entire boot up process and see what is happening and what is not happening. But a couple of questions that we can ask are, can we boot from an A prompt when booting from the floppy? In other words, if the system won't start by accessing the hard drive, then can we boot it from a floppy, for example, from a Windows 98 emergency startup disk? If we can, then the problem is with the hard drive system. The next question is, can we access the hard drive from the A prompt? In other words, if we boot the system with a floppy drive, then can we access the hard drive and get information from it? If yes, then the problem is the software that's used on the hard drive to boot the hard drive. So in other words, the software that contains the data is probably just fine. The problem is that the software that is required to boot that hard drive, for example, the command com program, command.com, maybe ms-dos.sys or io.sys, those programs are missing or damaged. So what we need to do at this point is run some diagnostic software to determine what files are missing so that we can get our hard drive back into place where we can use it to boot from. The advanced boot options that we can use that are included in the operating system software include a normal boot, a logged boot, which records each of the things that are happening. We can also boot to safe mode, which means that we've got minimal device drivers, but this will allow us to come back in when we've made an error and to fix the error and get the system back to where it should be. A step-by-step confirmation where we are asked by the system, do you want to run this file, or do you want to take this step? And we say yes or no. We can also boot directly to a command prompt to do diagnostics software tests. We can boot to a safe mode with a command prompt, which means that we have a command prompt and we also just have the basic drivers. We can also boot if we have a previous version of MS-DOS on the system. We can boot to a previous version of DOS as well. So if the computer boots but then has errors, we'll need to take some additional steps. We'll talk about what those steps are in our next section.